Normally when it comes to SUVs, you have to choose between luxury or off-road capability. Well, I'm going to show you a vehicle that does not only the best of both, but does both of those exceptionally well. This is the 2025 Lexus LX 700H in the Overtrail package. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. Make sure you hit like and subscribe for more Lexus related content. Okay, so getting right into it here, today's my first time actually being able to see an LX 700H in person. And when Lexus first announced this, I was really confused by the announcement because here's a vehicle that they decided to make hybrid and more off-road, like what we saw with the GX Overtrail. And even side by side a regular LX, there is only some subtle differences, but once you see them, it does make a big difference. So a little bit of an overview. So we have this sort of softly painted front grille. It's not the F-Sport grille, it's more of that luxury horizontal type, and it's trimmed off in almost like a metallic black. Of course, being that it's a flagship, we still have the triple beam LED headlights as well as that beautiful daytime running light. Once you start to get a little bit lower, we can see we have some active aero. So it looks like these sides do provide some cooling. We have a little bit of metallic gray here. And of course, the color itself is earth. And we saw that for the first time in the GX Overtrail, and it's been very well received ever since. But the side profile may be where it stands out the most. The first thing you're gonna notice is these massive off-road Toyo tires, and word has it, it took them 3 years to develop these specifically for the Lexus LX and the GX. And when you get up close to it, you'll notice that not only is there tread on the top of these tires, there's actually some tread on the sides. And the point of that is, of course, off-roading. So when you're off-roading and you're doing some rock crawling and going over trails and stuff like that, of course, anybody that's done that has known it's not just the center of your tire making that contact. Sometimes you need a little bit extra on that sidewall to be able to grip the things that we're going over, especially if it has ruts and you're in those off-road trails, etc. Also, you can tell by the much smaller 5-spoke, actually 6-spoke wheel versus the luxury and executive models that, this is definitely for off-road. And it also shows a little bit of comfort as well. The other thing is you'll notice how much I'm squatting right now, because the fact that this vehicle is off, it actually lowers by an inch. And when you are off-roading, you can raise it by another 3 to 4 inches to create a little bit more of that clearance height. And that's a big difference between that LX Overtrail and of course the GX. In terms of styling on the side, we of course have some piano black mirrors with some trim around those windows, actual manual handles, which I always like to see. And of course, really, really solid doors, which of course you would expect that from a flagship from Lexus especially. You do have the running boards. Now, in a normal SUV, I'm not someone that would add running boards too often. However, with the LX and even the GX, I find it useful for one main reason for me. And that is these cars, these trucks are made to be used in your lifestyle capability. So exploring the countryside and going on road trips and things like that. And what does that mean? Well, it means you might need roof racks. So to be able to step on something and comfortably be able to access roof racks, a surfboard, maybe some, skis or snowboards, stuff like that, gives me, even though I'm 6'1", it gives me a little bit extra of that height so that I'm not stepping on the inside of the vehicle. To get in and out, unless we had it raised to that 3 or 4 extra inches, I don't know if I would use those running boards, but the fact that they're there for even just that accessory piece, I think is a big difference. Okay, so getting to the back of the LX, one of my favorite things about this is how bold that LEXUS really is. And it gives it that vehicle a little bit of presence. It does a great job for the nameplates and it looks amazing. In the bottom right corner, of course, we have LX 700H, which is a first for us. We have that exposed wiper in the center, no big deal there. And of course, that light bar that goes from one side to the other. But what I really want to show you is as we open this up, and it's not powered right now, so I have to do it manually, is the configuration here in the back. So you can get this vehicle as a 5-passenger or a 7-passenger, depending on if you want those extra seats for kids and family and whoever else. And when you have that third row, it does take up a little bit of height space because of it. And that's where the hybrid batteries are, by the way, is underneath that third row. However, you can fold down this little platform and it clicks into place. And now, even though we have that raised portion because of those rear seats, we can use that as a really good platform for putting stuff in there, especially if you were to fold that second row as well. So again, still very, very practical. I would probably do that third row, and then it's just nice to have if I ever need it. I don't think I would miss that extra 5 or 6 inches of height space. And then of course we have that level as well. But that's not all. Over to the side, we have power folding seats for both rows of seats and a quick button that you can just press all and it'll fold down all of the seats for you. So really, really easy there. Above that, we have a 120 volt plug that you can plug in anything to, and rare enough, 2400 watts, where usually most SUVs would be about half of that. So to use, not only power tools, but also things like heaters if you're camping, obviously lights, a cooler, you'll be able to charge all of that, because again, the LX700 is all about lifestyle. Okay, so getting in the LX700, this is where I can really go over all of the other special things that make this vehicle different from the regular LX. And I shouldn't say regular, because even the LX itself is a vehicle that's special on its own. But on here, one of the most surprising things that I learned today, thank you to Michael for showing me, is the shift knob is different. So again, this is the first hybrid LX, meaning we've switched it over to an electronic gear shift now. It's not just any electronic gear shift. This is the biggest electronic gear shift that we've had. And it's gonna serve 2 purposes. And you're probably thinking, why is Dustin rambling on about something that just puts it in gear? Well, here's the reason. So the reason that it's bigger is so that you can have a little bit more of a grip on it, because if you are doing off-roading, you might be constantly switching it in drive and reverse to rock yourself out of a situation. But also, since it's the electronic gear shift, it means you're doing that a lot quicker than if it was mechanically connected. And I can vouch for this, because the first thing I noticed about driving an NX or RX hybrid is when I go to back into my driveway, I live on like a busier street, so I'm driving and you need to back into it really quick, I can pop it into reverse really easy. And since it's hybrid and there's no mechanical, it does it without even trying. So I do think that there's an off-road capability for that. Also, this is the first Lexus we've had that had triple locks. What that means is not only can you lock the center differential as you're off-roading, so just imagine you're off-roading and you get stuck, you can lock that center differential. You get stuck again, you can lock the rear differential. And if it is to happen again, you still have that parachute where you can lock the front differential. And there's separate buttons for them, sort of tucked away under the dash where my right leg goes. Again, the fact that it's hybrid has really opened up these possibilities of extra little controls. Speaking of extra little controls, I told you at the beginning of the video that this vehicle doesn't compromise luxury or utility. So already the wheelbase is designed in a specific sweet spot so that it's great off-road as well as great in the city, meaning it's smooth for both, where if you were to do like a shorter wheelbase, it would be better for off-road, but maybe not have that luxury feel like a full-size FUD does. Or if it has the longer wheelbase, again, it won't be as good for off-road, but it might be a bit more comfortable. This one has the best of both. So there is buttons in here to raise that ride height a few extra inches, as I mentioned, but also not compromising luxury. We can press a button and have this vehicle park itself, because that hybrid powertrain is now allowing us to do so. So you can press this vehicle, it'll parallel park, it'll back into a space, all of these things that it's technology that's been out for a while, but just like how cell phones have improved over the last 20 years, so has that technology. And every once in a while, I try to test it out just to see if it's as good as I remembered it being. And it definitely is. Of course, it being a fully loaded Lexus, we have heated and cooled seats, heated steering wheel, open pore wood grain that actually is dyed with what they call sumi ink. So this is another homage to the Japanese craftsmanship that Lexus has built such a brand on. And it's the same ink that in traditional Japanese form has been used to do calligraphy. So that black open pore wood just has another level of luxury to it. In the center, we have a wireless charger as well as a cool box. So again, for those long road trips of you and the family, you can have some Gatorade, some water, some Perrier, if your name is Dustin, in there, keeping cool for that road trip, as well as some cup holders both in the door and in the center. Now the LX, and I've shown this on other videos, has one of the most unique displays in the lineup, and that's this separate screen here. I can't turn it on for you, but we have done many views on it before, where it shows that off-road capability. So things like yaw and crawl control and pitch and angle and all of those systems are gonna be displayed on that bottom screen, which is that rugged utility aspect. And then that top screen is gonna be our luxury aspect. So things like Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all of your music, navigation, all on that bonded glass type tablet type screen. More technology. So again, even though this is an off-road luxury vehicle, we still have all of the latest Alexa safety systems. So everything from lane centering assist to radar cruise control pre-collision system. I think it even has proactive driving assist, but without me turning it on, I can't tell. And the latest gauge cluster as well. So that's all been updated. We have a driver monitor system, which you can see here. We have cameras that go all over the place. So not just for parking in those downtown Toronto tight parking spaces, but also as you're off-roading, you can hit that button and be able to see what you're actually going over. Okay, so sitting in the back of the LX, again, this is a big body on frame SUV, so I'm expecting space, and that's exactly what I'm getting. Even at 6'1", I still have room for my legs. I still feel quite comfortable, and also it's important to note the size of the windows. So the fact that I have this big open space instead of just a little porthole to look out does help for those long trips. And also, of course, we have things like that retractable sunshade. We have the armrests that can come down. A new thing that I noticed on the 700, and I didn't notice this on other LXs, was there's like a little trap door here to get to a couple different USB-Cs, which is great to see. Of course, we have our climate controls, heated seats, cooled seats, all in that center console, as well as some, Mark Levinson speakers. And also, I should notice, and I didn't notice it at first, the color of the seats is like a stone gray. So it's like a two-tone first for this model from what I can tell, and it matches really well with that earth exterior. So who is the new LX 700 for? Well, the way I look at this vehicle is here is an off-road capable luxury SUV that has a hybrid powertrain. So I think it's for anyone who wants to explore our beautiful countries and do so in the most luxurious fashion. A vehicle that, even if the road ends, the car does not, and neither does your exploration. And that's where the LX 700 comes in. It's definitely niche and unique, and I hope to see as many of these on the road as I possibly can, because I think it's very, very special. So let me know in the comments below what you thought of the new LX 700H. So everybody knows that the LX is one of my favorite vehicles in the Lexus lineup, and it's also one of the most rare. So in today's video, I'm gonna be doing an up close look of every button, function, and feature, or most of them anyway, using my trusty gimbal, and we'll try to get up as close as we can to a vehicle that you may not have been able to. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. Make sure you hit like and subscribe for more Lexus related content. Let's get up close and personal, and one of the things that I want to mention is the paint. So this is actually one of our last models that have the Obsidian paint color. So Obsidian is just the classic gloss black that doesn't have much metallic to it. It's very glossy, and in fact, it's the closest to my 1995 Toyota Supra paint that we have in the lineup because of the lack of metallic and no pearl as well. So it looks really good in black, especially with these black accents. Now, the LX we're looking at today is the F Sport package. So it gives you that spindle grille, it has the nicer dark wheels. The fact that there's some smoked out chrome is always a benefit. Also, you'll see we have a little front facing camera under that Lexus emblem. But as always, what we're gonna do is start with popping the hood. So I'm just gonna quickly get in here, reach down, and pop the hood. I'm sure even some of our Lexus LX owners probably don't look under the hood too often. So under the hood, we have a twin turbo V6, and this is one that we've now seen in a couple of different Lexus vehicles. It started with the LS, and now over to the LX, the GX. We see it in some Toyota product, although the Toyota product is a little different, I would say. It's a similar combination, but still slightly different. So under here, not a ton to look at. I do like the fact that they have an actual Lexus emblem. So it's not just, oh my gosh, it's so dusty under here. It's not just like a sticker, that is an actual Lexus emblem. It's 3D, and I like that it says twin turbo right above it. It's not totally covered over, that you might notice. So we still have some pipings for the intakes, etc. Obviously, we're not going to touch that too much, but we are going to go over here And this is where you would put your windshield wiper fluid. So that's probably the only thing you're gonna touch under here. I mean, we have this big cowling for batteries, and here's a fuse box and stuff like that. But overall, you're not gonna need to touch it too often, that's for sure. And while we're looking at the hood, I just want to point out that huge sort of air dam. It's like an angular mountainous range on that hood, which looks really good. It gives it that really big, aggressive stance. Now I will also just press the key. So I'm just gonna press unlock. And by the way, it's a pretty normal key for the lineup. It's nothing too special. And let's just see those daytime running lights. So really frosted. There's actually some detail there that I hope we can pick up on camera. Instead of just frosted glass for that daytime running light, there's actually a texture to it. It's almost like a dotted pattern. And we also have a Lexus emblem off to the side. You'll see that really bright turn signal. Now that's a feature I always forget to talk about, is turn signals, because really you only see it if someone's turning in front of you or behind you. And it's nice that it's the full length of that daytime running light. And above that, we have the triple beam LED headlight system. Of course, because it's a Lexus. And it still has the headlight washers, which I spoke to one of our guests tonight, who's a fan of the channel. He said that because of these videos, he learned about his headlight washers and when to use them and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, let's just look, before I get inside, I just want to showcase a little bit of that silhouette on the outside. Now, this is one of the only vehicles in the lineup, there's like 3 total, that has adjustable air ride, or in this case, actual hydraulics. So right now it's actually at the second to lowest setting for height. That's why you'll see that front wheel gap isn't huge right now. There's like 3 settings above this you could go to. So you could kind of have it in like city slicker mode where it's like slammed on dubs, or you could have it in like an off-road truck mode, which both of them are pretty cool. On the brakes, you'll see, I mean, with that F-Sport wheel, nothing to really write home about. Actually a pretty small brake setup when you think about how big this vehicle is. And then it is kind of interesting, some people love it, some people hate it, that we have actual chrome. So as you saw on the front, it's all smoked out for the grille, but then we have on the handles and the mirrors and the surrounding of the glass, we have all chrome, as well as that roof rail is like a frosted chrome. And I won't get up there because it is super, super dusty. What we do have is a step. So a side step that's well lit. So you can see some puddle lamps there. It is like the textured black. It's almost like a gray, some people will say. And this is like the only side step that I find useful is on the LX. For one, I think it just depends on what the height setting is. And I would use it not to get in the vehicle, but to get up and like grab something. So if I was using this for like a lifestyle, maybe I'll stand up and do it that way. To get like my surfboard off the roof, something like that. Okay, let's start talking about some interior stuff. So for one, I'm gonna look at this door panel. So we start to see some of the really high-end textures. So throughout the whole cabin, you'll see this texture. It's a brushed aluminum, and it is actual aluminum. That's huge to pay attention to when car shopping, because most of the time the materials are just simulated. This is actual brushed aluminum, so it looks amazing and it feels amazing to touch. The whole door itself is super, super solid. I mean, we have the puddle lamp. It does say Lexus on the floor, or sorry, it says F-Sport. And the puddle lamp, that's right from the factory. And then inside, I mean, it's red light right now for the ambient lighting, but you can change some of the ambient lighting. We have a Mark Levinson speaker dome here, and it's also sort of like an aluminum. And I like on some of these flagship cars, the speaker grille is like artwork itself. So instead of just a regular plastic cover, it's aluminum. It's got, you know, design language to it instead of just being like a fence between you and the speaker. Door bezel, so just your normal door switches, as well as some mirror controls. Before I get in, I'll just do some of these lower things here. We have our F-Sport door sill that is illuminated, and it does still have the plastic on for the next person. And then we have some seat controls here. So forward, backward, up, down, and then you can like tilt it as well. And then we have the leg support. I think it's called thigh support actually. So we have the thigh support, it comes out quite large. Forward, backward for the backrest. and then lumbar support, which goes up and down. And it is pretty easy to use. Like when you think of it, this is the bottom of your seat, this is the back of the seat. Just move it the way you want it to. And I will say that the seats in the LX are super solid. The leather has a good smell to it. They have a really good feel to it as well. And there's even some details like F Sport on the headrest. That reminds me of my Lexus LS that I have a 2014 LS, has that F Sport logo on the headrest as well. Some really nice stitching, big fan of that. Okay, still continuing before we get in the car. Down here we have an actual physical lever for the fuel release door, which is kind of cool. We have this little change holder. It's great for car wash money. That's what I use mine for. We have our trunk right there, so you can press and hold that. We have auto stop off, which I forgot this vehicle has. So you can shut off the fact that it shuts down the gas engine every once in a while, like when you're at stop signs. We have our pano view, so you can turn that on and off. I usually put that to auto. We have odometer and trip, and then we can adjust our dome and interior lights a little bit there. And then there's one more vent sort of off to the side as well. And then getting in, so let's get that view of your first seat in the LX. So again, what you'll notice is a really nice seating position. It does feel like a truck, for sure. I mean, it is a big truck. Classic that I like is a smaller dash and actually a pretty small steering wheel. Like gripping it, you'll notice like these little bits here, super thin, which I really like. Paddle shifters are actually plastic. I can feel that. They're plastic. And then the buttons on the steering wheel are physical. They're not the intelligent illuminated ones. So we have volume up and down. We have this for speaking to like Siri or making phone calls. Again, just to the phone screen or to answer. Back button in case there's like something on the multi-info display that we need to like exit out of. And then up, down, left, right. We'll actually cycle through what we see there. So if I go over to the right, it'll go through these little sub menus. And then let's say I go to I and then go up and down I'm just using my finger to go up and down. Then we can see things like, current fuel economy, average fuel economy, range, average speed, eco indicator, tire pressures, and then again, we can go over to like our navigation, our music, our assist to see if cruise control's on, and then if there's any messages the car was yelling at us about, and then we can do some like customizable vehicle settings. So we can change like how loud the parking sensors are, the rear cross traffic, how loud that is, the heads-up display. We could change the extended or standard auto stop, rear seat reminder, TPMS sensor, all of them. There's so many features. So you do all that from that screen. On the right side, we have our cruise control for the most part is what you're gonna use here. Lane departure alert, up and down for cruise control cancel, and then distance. And you'll notice it doesn't have what some of the other new Lexuses have, and that is to turn off the intelligent cruise control. Mode and forward backward is for the music. Okay, another thing is that screen. I know I have a light on it, so you can't really tell, but it is super crisp. So really good screen there. It's not like bright, like as if it was like a tablet, but it is crisp like a crystal screen. I'm a big fan of that. I find it not very straining to the eyes. As for other controls, so on the left, we have obviously our signals, as well as auto high beams and fog lights. And then over to the right, we have wipers, which you can set to auto just by putting it down into the auto setting, as well as down once for auto. And you can also do the rear wipers here too, which is important. That's pretty much it for the steering wheel. Oh, one more detail is it says F Sport right there. So really nice, another touch. This is also a plastic. It's not the same metal that we saw in other areas. Okay, let's talk about the center console, because this is a big difference from any car in the Lexus lineup. Some new buttons that you won't see on any other Lexus. One of them is the raise and lower the ride height. So as I mentioned, there's a few different settings for that. It takes a while to have them pump up and pump down. Some years of LX are hydraulics, some are air ride. So that's important to note. Then we have traction control off. We have the lock the center differential. So you can do that if you're doing some off-roading or if you're stuck in the sand or snow. And then our park. We have a big phone holder right here, which is a good spot for it because it's kind of like reachable from your hand. and you wouldn't really forget your phone there. In the center, we have our champagne cooler, as I call it. And this one actually has a little shelf. See, that's kind of nice. And it's a big cool box. So you could put a lot of bottles of Gatorade in there, or water, or what have you. And all you do is you turn that on like this. It does kick on the climate control. So just remember that. And this you can actually open from both sides. So that's kind of nice too. It's a nice big armrest, and it feels good to open and close. It's very solid. In the center, we have cup holders, and you can see I have the red lights on. So they are part of the illumination, which is nice. Then we have heated and cooled seats, heated steering wheel. You can set all of that to auto if you want. The shifter itself, super solid. We have, oh, it just yelled at me for doing that. That's funny. Perforated leather here. And then we have USB-C and USB standard off to one side. The other side we have our 12 volt sort of like cigarette lead outlet. There is a decent space here as well, but I don't know, I don't think you're gonna use that too often. Okay, let's get into more buttons. We have a multi-terrain select switch, we have our drive mode switch, and we have our crawl and DAC switch. These essentially just change what this knob to the left does. If I put it in multi-terrain and then I turn this knob to the left, we can see it change from mud to sand to deep snow to dirt, etc., etc. Then if we hit drive mode, it would change from normal to sport plus to custom, and then you could go the other way and go like eco or comfort. And then if we were in crawl control or DAC, this would also control that, but I don't think it's gonna do anything for us right now. So those are kind of like your off-road or sport settings, and that's a big part of this center configurator here. Easiest way to think of it, so your drive modes are just like any other car, where normal is normal, sport plus is going to be a touchier gas pedal and brake pedal, and shifts are gonna hold longer. And then Sport Plus is the same, but with a tighter suspension. Also, you'll notice we have a G-force meter in that screen in the top right corner. And then when we go multi-terrain select, it changes to like a pitch and yaw meter. So really, really cool. Reminds me of aviation. And if you're doing some off-roading, you'll see that sort of pitch and move around, and you can keep an eye on making sure you're not gonna flip over. On the left, we have our accelerator. So that's me touching the gas. And then our brake, again, shows you how hard you're touching that. All really good for off-roading, whether it's snow, ice, mud, anything like that. Those are really good configurations and features to have. So yeah, that's one thing. Here is also a touchscreen. So this screen is a touchscreen, and you can touch things like the off for the adjustable ride height. You can keep that on. We can mess around with a little bit of climate control, even though you can also do that with like these sort of buttons. You can go to a climate screen and you can change things like your auto settings and your front and your rear. Like right now, we can turn the rear off if we wanted, and we could turn the front off that way too. So lots of different things. We obviously have our customizable colors on this screen as well, which is quite fun. We could change the brightness, we could change the settings for like sensitivity and software information. A lot of that is on this screen. This screen is only in the LX right now. So you don't see this configuration anywhere else. We have some large portrait mode vents off to the side. We have some climate controls in the middle with our, of course, 4-way switch. Also, I love when Lexus puts this button out in the open. So this is the heated windshield wipers. So it just heats up the glass under the wipers to keep away the ice. Also, Climate Concierge, if you don't know what that is, it's really, really cool. It uses sensors in the cabin, usually like infrared sensors, to adjust all the climate settings to your body temperature. And it does a really good job, usually only on flagships, LS, LC, etc., etc. A little bit over-engineered and underappreciated in my opinion. And then off to the right, there is one switch that I almost forgot about, and that is our low 4 to high 4 four-wheel drive switch, because it is a true four-wheel drive. So that's pretty much this section here. Oh, one more thing. You can see here where we are for how low the car is. So you can see those bars right here. If we were on the highest setting, it would actually be up there. So it shows you how tall the vehicle is right now. Then we can go up to the top screen. I mean, I'm not gonna go crazy about this one. We have a volume knob off to the left, And then essentially it's just like any radio in the Lexus lineup, except now the vehicle portion isn't really there because everything is gonna go through that bottom screen. But Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, it is Gorilla Glass. It just doesn't have it because of we have the cover on it still. A vehicle of this price point, we obviously want to keep it looking as new as possible. Okay, up here, we have our smart mirror. So we can have it hook up to the camera in the back or just be a regular mirror. To set your garage doors and your home lights and maybe your gate, if you have a gated community, you can put it there. And a guest of mine recently, actually a salesperson reminded me of this. With this smart style, it's really easy to program these because there's like step-by-step instructions that show up on the screen. Above that, we have a nice sunglass holder. We have some touch lights here for the maps, as well as our SOS button, which is like you're launching a missile underneath a little glass panel. And then a huge, look how big this button is for the door lights as well as just the regular dome lights, massive. It's like they needed to like take up some room and they did it. Then we have obviously just our vanity lights, your buddy Dustin there in the mirror. And all of this headliner, it's not Alcantara, but it is like a really soft material. We see some microphones up here, so sometimes for Bluetooth, those might even be a tweeter. Kind of looks like a tweeter, but that's definitely a microphone. We have some speakers up front as well, and some extra vents and things like that. So pretty much that's everything from the front point of view. A couple things flash in there. One of them is the fact that we're in the low setting. So I just want to point that out. So we can go higher than that. All we would do is we would just hit this higher button and it would do it. But the engine should be running for that. Okay, let's check out the back seat. Again, really decent sized doors. It is a full size SUV. We have curtains in the back. They are manual, which does sometimes surprise people because like the LS, for instance, is all automatic. I mean, they're both flagships at the end of the day. So, I mean, to each their own, not a big deal. We do have some piano black bezel, so that's a little different, as well as that artwork that I mentioned before, and actually you can get a better look at it. For the speaker grille, that aluminum that we talked about, and there's still a little step here. So still you can use this step to get in, and look, there's a really nicely placed grab bar. So to get up top to that dusty roof I talked about, and then to get in, all decent enough. Also, I should show you that it doesn't have soft close, but some of them do, but this one doesn't. I think it's because it's the F Sport. The 25 model might, this is the 24. But when you do grab it, it is really grippy, kind of like the GX. That's like a solid door. Okay, with the seat all the way back in front of me, it is a little, like I am touching it surprisingly, but it's way further back than it needs to be for sure. Back here, we have a few switches. So we have heated and cooled seats back here. We have climate controls, that all lights up, shows us what is on. There is even a little button, a little secret switch, so I can open that armrest for the people in front of me. And our climate control, we can control all of that from here. I also have a pretty decent armrest. Pretty solid. It does have some cup holders that sort of pop out, but for the most part, it's mainly just an armrest. It's not like an extra center console like you would get on like, again, hate to keep making the reference, but like an LS. But the seats back here, super solid, really big, I would say, for being the fact that this is like a big off-road truck. To fold down the seat, you would just lift on this, and you can have a third row up. It's kind of like a jump seat. It's definitely not a main selling feature. So for a family, I would say you could use it, and you even have like a window to support that. Taillights. So we have the 3-piece taillight with like a little brake in the middle. We have the biggest LEXUS in the whole lineup, an exposed wiper on the back as well. And I just want to show you a little bit of that trunk space. So with that third row folded down, which is where it's going to be most of the time, you can see we have a decent cavity here, really good for lifestyle. Even if you don't need a big SUV like this all the time, having that extra space is kind of nice. It kind of reminds me of like a adventurer SUV that is also someone who likes finer things. That's kind of what I think of, because it is really practical back here. We have our 12-volt cooler plug or power tool plug. We have some buttons to take that third row up and down. I will show you that if the third row is up, the size of the trunk is this here. So that is the whole size of the trunk if those rear seats are up. But if they are up, I mean, it's kind of nice to be able to take a couple extra people, especially to a beach day, something like that. So there you have it, a little bit of an in-depth look in one breath of my words on a Lexus LX 600, and this one in the F Sport package. I went over a couple buttons, some features. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this video. If there's any other cars that I should do this style video, or if I missed anything, which I can already tell I missed at least one or two things. So there you have it. I'm Justin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Check out some of our other videos. And of course, we are part of the Performance Auto Group, and we represent a lot of different brands. So check us out if you're in the market for a car. If not, I'll see you in the next video.